Vlogmas Day 6, and I'm going to do the Ho 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 tag. Hello, my name is Charlie, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing the Ho 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 tag created by Kim Chance and Melissa Hope. Because Christmas is coming up, and I had a talk with my friend here, and we thought we should do at least one thing about Christmas, if not maybe a couple more, why not? So let's get to it. Number 1, Santa Claus. If you could ask Santa for one thing off your author bucket list, what would you ask for and why? This is a really tricky question. If I could get one thing, just one thing, off of my author bucket list, I think it would be access. See, I don't know, because, alright, it's a tie in my head, and I hate to do a tie, but I don't know which I would actually pick, and I'm kind of curious if any of you would be tiebreakers for me in this, because I don't know where I would prefer to go. Part of me says I would like access to an artist who could help me make a comic book based off of some of the stories that I'm doing. I really like the idea of that. I love comics. I've always wanted to do comics, but I've not had the ability to hire an artist to help me with that. But if they were talking bucket list though, I think it has to be an anime series based off of one of my stories, because that's really a bucket list thing. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like a full-on anime series as in like made in Japan and all that, but I've always wanted an animated series. I've always wanted an animated series. I love animation, and I would really, really like an animated series. So yeah, I'm going to pick animated series. Yeah, final answer, animated series. The Ghost of Christmas Past! What's one piece of advice you wish your past self knew about writing? Or what advice would you give to fellow aspiring writers? I'm going to argue with the context of this question. If you are getting words, you're a writer. I understand how some people want to make a distinction between a writer and an author based on whether or not you're published or not. I'm not one of those people, but okay if you want to do that. But if you're not an aspiring writer if you're actually getting words. I'm just saying, you're a successful writer when you finish the book. You're a writer. I don't like the whole aspiring thing. But if I could go back and give one piece of writing advice to younger me, it would be to not care as much about what other people are going to think about the story. My early work, especially, I spent a lot of time grooming the characters and the story to make sure that it would have a wide audience appeal. And I don't think it actually helped the stories, because it ended up watering them down. Because remember, whenever you're trying to get to the largest audience, you have to hit the lowest common denominator. So a lot of those quirky things that make things special have to be taken away. And a lot of the rough edges have to be smoothed off. And now it's not so special. It's a lot like a lot of the other stuff that's out there. And so, well, I'm not upset that I wrote the Liquid Sky books, for example. They're fairly garden variety space opera. There's nothing really special about them because I didn't really embrace my weird. And so they're not really my space opera, they're just space opera. And so I wish somebody had told me that if you really want an audience, if you want people to care about your work needs to be uniquely yours. Not unique, because that's impossible, but it has to be yours, from your voice, with all that weirdness included. Number 3, Elves. Santa has his little helpers. What resource has been the most helpful to you and the most invaluable to your writing process? I could see this in a couple different ways, depending on how you want to interpret the word resource. Right off the bat, I would almost say Scrivener. Scrivener like changed my writing forever because I had a very simple one spot to throw everything into, from like world building and whatnot, to all my notes, to the actual stories, and I like their draft system and whatnot. But that doesn't feel like the right answer to give here. I think the most valuable resource that has actually helped me get writing done, I've talked about this a lot, if I hadn't packed everything away because I'm moving my office into this room, I would pull it out, but I don't feel like going through all the boxes. I'm sorry. It would be Stealing Fire from the Gods by Bonnet. That book, more than I think any other book that I've ever read, has given me an appreciation for understanding that if you're telling a story, you're actually telling a slice of an event rather than the event itself. And that really changed my understanding of how to do a story. So if it's a war, you have the whole war, and you need to have an understanding of the whole war, but you're only telling this little bitty piece. And that sounds like such simple logic, right? But he actually gives a method for how to do this. I've covered this on the podcast. If you go to my Myth Weaving podcast, season 1 takes you through the entire system on how to build a world and to pick a story focus in it using his method. And I've gone back to it so many times that I don't know that I would be the writer that I am today without it. So yeah, Stealing Fire from the Gods, great book. Don't know why people don't talk about it more. Gingerbread Cookies! What's your favorite holiday treat? It also asks what is your main characters for your current whip. I'm still developing my current whip. Well, one of my current whips, and the other one, he's a vampire, so blood. My absolute favorite holiday treat is something that we make in our family called a 7-layer cookie. It is so rich, you can only have just like a tiny piece of it, but it is so good. So it's basically butter and graham crackers and coconut and butterscotch chips and chocolate chips and nuts, and it all gets layered up, and then it gets a layer of sweetened condensed milk poured over the whole thing, and it's let to set, and it turns into this like candy bar, and it's so good, and it lasts forever because you can only have just this tiny little piece of it because it's just so rich. It's just, oh, it's so good. I love it. I look forward to it every year. It's my absolute favorite thing about the holidays. I don't know why we don't make it any other time of year because I love it so much, but it's really unhealthy. That's probably why, like, just to save ourselves some calories. But I love it. I love it so much. So yeah, 7-layer cookie, the Star of Bethlehem. What started your journey to write your first book? Has the journey turned out like you imagined? Where would you like to go in the future? So my very first book that I ever wrote was called Empires, and oh, it's a hot mess. It's not easy to read. I still have a copy of it, and I still have the handwritten manuscript of it in the other room. What led me to write that was literally, I was in 5th grade, and no, 6th grade, and we were reading The Hobbit in English class, and the teacher told the story about how Tolkien was grading papers one night, and he wrote on the corner of one, "There in a hole lived a hobbit." That's how he got the idea for the story, and I went, I don't know why, but before that, I never really thought about people being writers, and I was like, I can write stories too. And I went and got myself a spiral notebook and started writing all kinds of notes about all the things that I loved, and the spaceships and the dragons, and there were like elves in it. I remember there were elves in it. I started creating my own fantasy races to be in it. I modeled part of the notebook after the first edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Monster Manual because I wanted to create special critters and monsters for it, and I loved doing that so much. And then after I got a certain ways in, I was like, oh, okay, I know my characters. And I came up with this idea for this like war over this like magical artifact thingy that really doesn't matter. Like, it's a true MacGuffin in the story. And started writing the book. And I wrote it. It took several years for me to write. And I don't think it's salvageable. But I often think about it. I have rescued 3 characters from that book. They're in my space opera setting. And yeah, you guessed it, they're the magical space elves. Those are characters from my very first book ever, which is probably why I like them so much. I thought I would be further along in my career by now, to be honest, but I didn't foresee the unexpected mental health vacation that I took where I had to put myself back together. So that slowed things down. And where I would like to be, I would like, more than anything, like, yeah, I would like awards. I'm not gonna like try to be like above it all. Yeah, I would like an award. I would love a Hugo. I would love a Nebula. I would really like a GLAAD or Glisten award. Like, I would love Lambda Literary to give me an award for writing a really good LGBT book. I would love that. But honestly, yeah, book sales are nice. Awards would be nice. I would love to have a community of readers around me that actually like the stuff that I'm writing and that I could talk to about it. Because I love my stories, I love my characters, and that's kind of where I'm hoping that I'm going with everything that I'm doing, is to a place where I have people I can talk to about what I'm doing, and that I can eventually make an animated series. Don't get me wrong, if we could afford a live action, like if I give people to give me enough money to make a live action series, I would take it. But given how outlandish a lot of the stories I write are, it would probably be animated unless it's my Dragons of Night stuff, which you could probably do not too expensively. Netflix, looking at you. The Night Before Christmas. What's your favorite book to read during the holidays? Okay, I'm cliche here. I am very cliche. There are two books that we read every holiday season, and I love both of them, and that is A Christmas Carol. I love that book. I absolutely love it. I actually have an audiobook of A Christmas Carol read by Tim Curry that we will listen to, or at least I will listen to, pretty much every year. I love that. We also have a tradition of reading 'Twas the Night Before Christmas on Christmas Eve, which makes me very happy. I like doing that. It's something that we did when I was a kid and that we still do now, and it makes me very, very happy. Christmas parties. What's your best advice for juggling writing with the busy holiday season? I'm actually going to turn this question around this year because of the year that we're living in. This is my advice for getting through holiday loneliness, because I lived for quite a few years in California. My family are all either in the Midwest or the East Coast, and we didn't make a lot of money when I lived in California, so we didn't get to go visit family during the holidays, and so it was just the hubby and I. And that could feel lonely, especially the first year. It felt really lonely because it was one of the first Christmases of my life that I didn't get to spend it with my sister, because we always made a point to be together on the holidays. And so I felt really, really rough that year. But the one thing that I learned is it's not a cliche to say that people will be with you in spirit. Learning to be okay with the phone calls, and later when we had access to video calls, being able to do that, it really meant the world to me. And I think that that's something a lot of us are going to have to do this year. I also think a lot of us are going to be dealing with a special kind of Christmas funk or holiday funk this year, because we're not able to do a lot of the things that we would normally do during the holiday season because of, 2020. So my advice would be to focus on the work that you love and focus on the people that you love, because love really is the one thing that can get us through anything. Polar Express. What writing rituals do you use to transport yourself into the world of your book or the mindset of your characters? Ooh, okay, I've talked about some of my writing rituals in the past. I'm actually going to do some videos in future on writing rituals. One of my favorites is giving my characters theme songs. So when I create a character, I like to sit back and think, what is their theme song? If this was a WB show and there was a pop rock, rap, or sometimes it's a classical theme or a song from a game or something like that, but usually it's not. What song would be playing in the background every time they came into the room? What is their theme song? And then once I have that kind of locked in as their personality, I play that song. I also do this a lot for various worlds and stories, that I will have either a full playlist or a couple songs that immediately evoke the idea of what I'm doing. The story that I'm working on right now, My Crypts and Wyverns, there's actually quite a few songs that are helpful with that. One of which is the song Farewell My Little Earth by Nosferatu, which I listen to quite often when I start writing. For one of the space operas I'm working on right now, the song Star Rider by Hellas, it instantly puts me in the mindset of the character and into the world, and like I almost feel like if this were a 1980s TV show, that would be the theme music for it. Yeah. Music to me is the easiest way to get in to a story. The space opera that I'm working on, kind of that 1980s synthwave music really helps when I'm working on that. One of the quickest ways to get there is to play like The Death of Optimus Prime or something like that off of the 1985 Transformers soundtrack. Right there, I'm in. Perfectly there. Alrighty. Number 10. Sugar and spice and everything nice. In the spirit of spreading kindness and cheer, give a special shout out to someone who has been instrumental in your writing journey, or someone who has really helped you along the way. This one's a toughie because like there are the super shout outs. Like Mr. McDonough was the best English teacher I have ever had. He really saw something in me and nurtured me not only as a writer but as somebody who just loved language and really helped me to discover my love of language. So like I have to mention him. Like I would be completely him and Mrs. Booth. I would also have to put her and Miss Tringali. I would have to put them like teachers that really kind of set me on the path that I'm on. There have been quite a few writers along the way. I would have to say Emma and Rich. She's been such a good friend to me over the years. I have to give her a shout out because she's amazing. If you've never read her books or listened to her podcast, Horror Addicts, definitely check it out. She's amazing and I love a really, really awesome person. Since I've been on AuthorTube, I would have to say that like I have to give like a special shout out to Jules, the dawdling writer, to Kat Leo, and to Jace Maxwell, and a super special shout out to Sage, Moon Bunny Creative. I think they don't realize how much they've helped me over this year, but I don't know that I would be writing if it wasn't for them. Like, Sage's content, there are certain videos by them that I watch over and over and over again because they give me inspiration to get doing work. And I often have them on when I'm working on things. Kat has been really helpful and just such a wonderful presence in my life that's helped keep my spirits up even though I've been in a very dark place for most of this year. She and Jace have really been helpful with that, and I don't know that I would be doing much of what I'm doing if it wasn't for Jules. Jules is amazing and I can't say enough nice things about her. I'm getting all emotional. I'm gonna have to stop. Okay, and that's it. That's the last question on the tag. I hope you enjoyed this. If you liked this video, let me know what you would like me to do, if there are any other tag videos that you would like me to do. I kind of enjoy doing tag videos, and since I'm doing Vlogmas, I've got a lot of videos to make. So if there are any tag videos you'd like to see me do, let me know down in the description below. If you have any answers to these questions, I would love to hear them. Put them down in the description in the comments as well. Alrighty. If you would like to support the work that I'm doing and help me continue writing and everything else, you'll find links to both my Ko-fi and my Patreon down below. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. It helps out a bunch. And I stream twice a week on YouTube, so maybe hit the notification bell so you might maybe get notified about that. Alrighty, as always, remember, Black Lives Matter, Black trans lives matter, trans identities are magic. And until next time, may you have the courage to ride your dreams into reality, and don't forget to have the fun. Bye.